This book made me $244,000 from my small online business in just the past 8 months alone. Usually I hate these book videos because they're not that valuable. It's just watered down information. But I have to show you the concepts I learned 3 years ago and how I applied them to literally make this much money. Like, I'm not kidding with you. This is my journal from 2022. I don't know if you actually read the label or not, but I wrote down what I learned from this book, applied it to my own life, and I made this much money. I'm gonna share with you exactly what I did, the exact concepts. Now, what makes this book so good is usually self-improvement or business books. It's just watered down, kind of egotistical information from anecdotal stories from someone's life, okay? It's not really that great. But this book is the exact opposite. They spent 10 years studying the best companies that went from good to great. These are not companies that got lucky. They didn't find some secret technology. These are companies that were boring, they sucked, and they went from sucking to being great over a span of like a certain amount of years, like over a decade, or actually it's like 15 years. This is how you win without being lucky. Like, this is how you absolutely crush using these principles. So I want to show you guys with this, and I want to tell you that I'm not just making this up. I literally wrote this in a journal from 2022, 2 years ago. I took these concepts, I applied them to my life, and now fast forward 2.5 years later, and this is how much I made this year so far. I'll probably do 300, actually I will do 300K in revenue this year. Insane for my small online business. So let's get right into it. Like I said, the big idea is they spent 10 years studying companies that went from just good to being great. And their standard of great was very high. Like, they did the 30x return of the S&P in the same time period. Also like 30 to like 60x return compared to companies that were very close to them. Like the exact same companies, similar size. Like these people went from good to great against all odds. Like, there was nothing else to blame for their greatness besides these concepts that they found. They were very selective in their criteria, and he had a whole team of researchers researching this for 10 years. So this is really, really good stuff. And the first thing they found, there's 3 concepts. The first one is the hedgehog concept. So a hedgehog always tries to make its way down its path and protect itself from foxes and other things that want to mess with it. And the fox has all these different strategies. The fox is always trying new things to try to get one up on the hedgehog. But the hedgehog does one thing, and does it very well. He gets into a ball and pumps his needles up. That's it. When the fox goes away, he just continues on his path. So he doesn't do a million things. He doesn't have a million strategies. He just has one core strategy that everything revolves around, and it works like crazy. And so that's the whole idea of the hedgehog concept. And there's 3 circles that make up this concept. And in the middle is the exact thing the hedgehog concept that you can focus on that makes your business incredible. And so I read this 3 years ago, and I was thinking, how the heck do I apply this concept used by the biggest Fortune 500 companies to my own life? Like, I didn't even have a business. It was just my life. And this is what I did. So the first step is what can you be best at? So when looking right at your competition, you can't just have this inflated ego and be like, I'm going to be the best at everything. You can't. You can't. God has given us different gifts. He's blessed different people with different things. And there are some things that you are naturally just driven to and good at, and some things you aren't. Like, I am 5'9". I cannot go be a professional NBA basketball player. Like, I can't be the best basketball player in the world because it's just not how tall I am. Same reason that like Michael Phelps, even though he's amazing at swimming and has the perfect build for swimming, he can't go and be a jockey and win the Kentucky Derby because the Joker's tall and lanky. Right? And a jockey can't be the best swimmer. So you have to really confront reality and just think, what is something I can be the best at? Instead of studying these companies, they looked at Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo could not compete with Citibank. They're like, we can't be better at Citibank than just banking. So what they did is they found what they could be best at. In their region, they started focusing on how can we be the best in this area. And so you must now understand, what can you be the best at? And at this point, I was not good at anything. But I thought, I can be the best at teaching people valuable concepts that I've learned to improve my life and business, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. And I'm not the best at it yet, but I know that I can be because of my passion for it, which comes us to number 2, is what are you actually passionate about? If you get into business just to make money, you can make some money. but it will not last for a long time. You will not be in the business for decades. You won't have insane long-term growth. You have to actually be passionate about it. And so what can you be best at, and what are you passionate about? Now you have different passions, and you can grow your passion for something, but you just have to have passion for something. So the guy who was over the biggest cigarette companies, he loved cigarettes, and he thought his quote was, "Cigarettes make life worth living." The dude was really passionate about cigarettes, which is why they were crushing, because he genuinely believed that it was a huge improvement to everyone's life. Now, you can argue whether that's true or not, but it doesn't matter because he believed it. He was passionate about cigarettes, and that was the thing he was best at. Now, the last thing, which is really cool, is called your economic engine. And so the whole idea of the Hedgehog Concept is simplicity. It's having this one singular focus and executing on it time after time after time, no matter what changes, no matter what's the market's going on or what's happening, you have this Hedgehog Concept where you just lock down and you do your one thing over and over and over again. And so the economic engine is the one thing, the one economic variable that you focus on in your business. And so I looked at this 3 years ago, back when I had like almost no subscribers and was making no money. And I said, my variable is going to be dollar per sub. So I didn't want to have 1 million subscribers and make 10K a month or 30K a month. I wanted to make a ton of money from each subscriber. Now, why? This took me a while to think through, like, why is this my economic engine? And it's because if I'm getting a ton of money per every subscriber, that means that I'm going deep. I'm actually creating a ton of value for every person. And I decided I didn't want to create just a little value for a ton of people. I wanted to really completely change the lives of just a few amount of people. And fast forward 3 years, my YouTube channel had 10K subs, and I'm making 60K a month from my main channel. So 10,000 people, 10,000, and I was making 60,000 per month. That's crazy. Like I was making more than YouTube channels that have 1 million subscribers. That's insane. But I always kept this the focus. And the key with this economic engine is when you figure out the exact thing that you should focus on, it shapes everything else you do. So for instance, Wells Fargo tried to optimize how much money they made per employee. That was their economic engine. That was their variable. Like dollars, like revenue generated per employee. And so that allowed them to get the most use out of their employees. It allowed them to train their employees. Like everything, every decision you make stems from this economic engine. And if it's in the right place, you make insane decisions. And it simplifies everything. Instead of thinking through 1 million variables, you just think, does this increase the dollar per subscriber? Yes? Okay, awesome. Let's do it. Does it not? Okay, no, let's not do it. And one that I just discovered recently that I'm doubling down on is this. Instead of making videos that try to get a bajillion views and just have some kind of clickbaity garbage in it, this is what I'm focused on. Check this out. This is crazy. Value per view. So I would rather get 100 views on this exact video and completely change the trajectory of some of you guys' life than get 1 million views of the people who just felt good for 5 minutes. I want value per view. And when you really start thinking about this, you realize that you start trying to get less views. So you don't try to actually get less views, but basically you want your videos to be seen by the exact right people. So when I'm optimizing for this on my main channel, I no longer make titles and thumbnails that are formatted to go viral. I make titles and thumbnails to attract the exact person who will get the most value out of this video. Because that's what I care about, is value per view. And your metrics might change over time, especially if you're first starting. Like you just won't know what to really focus on. But when you find those key variables that you're like, wow, if I just did this over and over again, I'm gonna freaking crush. And that is the key of the Hedgehog Concept, is having this one unified thing. When you have the perfect economic engine, you're doing what you could be the best at, and you're passionate about what you do, that's how you get this just insane pocket of just power, okay? And focus. That's the Hedgehog Concept, is focus, simplicity. Next thing is bus. You view your business like a bus. And the whole concept of this is it's who, not what. So in order to get to wherever you're going, You want to figure out who's going to be on the bus with you first. So instead of start going where instead of figuring out what you want to do, figure out who you need to have in order to accomplish what you want to do. It sounds a little bit complicated, but let me give you an example. So my right-hand man, Luca, is an absolute beast. And I first hired him when he was 16 years old, which was just like a couple months ago. And he is an animal. But I had no clue, and he didn't have any clue. He didn't really have any skills when I found him. But I knew, based on this concept, that he was going to be an absolute animal. And some guys who had already been kind of in my program and been friends with me for a while were wondering, why the heck did I just choose this random kid from my free Discord to start running all this stuff? Why? Like, why him? Why him? Why not me? I have more skills, all this stuff. And people were thinking that. But I knew that it's always about who, not what. Who the person is, their character, their integrity, their competence. And so when I looked at Luca, I thought, holy crap. I've not seen a kid with this level of confidence at his age and drive, probably ever. And I knew immediately that I wanted him to be on my team, to be with me going where we're going. So I got him on the bus. I didn't know what he was going to do. I was giving him random stuff. And now he's slowly growing into his what he's best at and what he's passionate at. And he's freaking loving it, and he is crushing it. He's an absolute killer. And my goal is to have a team of 50 Lucas. Like, I want to have the best people known to man. I care about who they are more than like what they can do with their skills, whatever. I can teach them skills. It's about who's on the bus with me. I need to figure out who's going to be on the bus before I really take this thing to where we're going to go. And so it's about who, not what. So when you have this one simple unifying hedgehog concept, you know exactly what you're doing, you know exactly how to execute, this is how you make decisions, this is where you're headed, this is your goal. Then it's about who do you want on your team? This is huge, guys. I cannot explain how amazing it is to have an S tier, A tier players on your team. It is phenomenal. And all of my guys that are on my team right now came from my own program. Why? Because I knew who they were before I brought them on. They came from my program. I literally hired them from my program. So I didn't have to guess, are they consistent? Are they driven? Like, what are their fundamental values? I already knew because I'd already been coaching them. And so it was a no-brainer. Some of them, I hired them. I didn't even know what they're going to do. I was like, hey, I want you on my team. They're like, what do I do? I was like, I don't know. Let's figure it out, right? It's about who, not what. And so the last thing is level 5 leader. And we'll get into how you really tie this together. But when they study these companies, they realize that there's a lot of good leaders out there. But there's very, very few leaders who went from good to great. Like, they changed the entire company. The whole thing turned around within 10 years. Those are level 5 leaders. And they notice that all these leaders have this weird polarity where they're extremely humble. They're not the leaders you see out there on social media posting and flexing and in the suits with Ferraris and all this stuff. They're humble leaders. They don't want to be in the spotlight. And they're very open to criticism. They're open to change. They don't have this massive ego. They're not trying to be seen by the media and be, the world's best CEO. No, they're humble leaders. But they have this will about them where they will not budge on the goal. People like Lincoln. There was a famous quote or a famous kind of scenario where this person told Lincoln that he was being an absolute fool. And they asked like Lincoln what he thought about it. He's like, he's usually right, so I'm guessing he is in this instance as well. Like, insane humility. But yet they do not budge on the mission. They have this rock solid will. So it's this polarity of like they're willing to change, but also they're not willing to change on the things that matter. Like, their ego is out of the way. But when it comes to accomplishing the mission, the goal of the company, they do not freaking budge. And they have insane consistency. And that is level 5 leader. And that's what I'm trying to be. But to get to level 5, you actually have to have the skill, you have to learn management, you have to learn how, like, you have to do all these things first. But once you learn the skills, the level 5 leader is the one who, he has the vision, he has the skills, he has the management like skills, he has all that, but he's insanely humble, always willing to learn and listen and to change and not have his ego in the way. But then he's rock solid will. Nothing can knock him off his game. Nothing can knock him off the mission. And that is what I'm trying to be. And so how we tie all this together is this. This is called the flywheel. So basically, as you start acting on these things, as you start going through them, as you start figuring out what you're best at, what you're passionate at, as you start doing the hedgehog concept, focusing on this, you start executing, you start seeing a little bit of results, Those results bring in more people who actually want to get on board with the mission that allows you to level up and become a leader. All of this starts iterating. I call this the iteration cycle. They call it the flywheel. So this happens in no matter what you're trying to do, like anything in business and life, it's always a flywheel. So as I make these videos, as I get better at teaching you guys, I get better at learning more valuable things. I get better at refining those valuable things into things I can teach you. And then I do them, which gets results, which gets me more views because you guys click on the video because it has a higher number in the title. It just flywheels. It flywheels like crazy. And this is how you get those companies that had exponential results. And then you add in here little things like, not little things, but installing discipline in your entire culture, having a vision, and then having use of technology. So always being on the cutting edge of looking for technology, but not just using technology for the sake of using technology, but technology applied to the Hedgehog concept. So technology that will only increase this stuff. That's when you start flywheeling out of control. And the problem with this is this takes a long freaking time. So if you guys want to know how long this took for me reading this book and trying to implement this stuff every freaking week, it took me 2.5 years. 2.5 years to see any progress. I think it was 2.5 years before I even got to here. And then in just the past 6 months, things have started to really uptrend, right? So this takes a long time. Most of you guys will watch this video, you'll look at this stuff and be like, oh, this is dope, this is cool. And then you'll do it for a week and completely forget about it. Like I said, I keep these notebooks and I write this stuff down because I want to show you guys that I'm not kidding. Like I read this book 3 years ago. I'm still doing this stuff. It takes a long time. And that's what it comes back to being a level 5. Oh, going crazy. That's what comes back to being a level 5 leader, where I just have this, I want to develop this rock solid consistency where I don't freaking budge on anything when it comes to the mission and what I'm trying to accomplish and the Hedgehog concept and who I want to bring on. Like I'm just unshakable. That's the whole goal. I want to get to this. And by doing this, you have an insane exponential growth. And so I would not be surprised if my income goes up to $250K. I start doing this per month, $500K per month in 2 years. I'm not shocked at all because I understand the principles. And if I keep doing this, this will keep working and it will be insane. So hopefully some of you guys are watching this video in 6 months, 12 months from now, and things are a lot different. Things are way crazier. I could die tomorrow. It's up to God, honestly. But if he blesses me, if his will allows me to keep doing what I'm doing, this will be the output, okay? Because it's just principles. And if you're just getting started, be encouraged that this will come to you. It will. But you have to understand these things. What can you be the best at? What drives your economic engine? What is the main variable? And what are you passionate about? What do you actually love doing? Then who do you want to do it with? Find the who's, not what. Find the who. Then become this level 5 leader who has unshakable humility, or has amazing humility and unshakable will. Doesn't want to be in the spotlight, just wants the company to win. That's all they care about. The company must win. We must continue moving forward. So if you learned something, do not sit here and feel good about yourself until you post something in the comments that you're going to go do. Because you didn't learn anything if you don't take action. So tell me, what is your Hedgehog concept in the comments? Who are you looking for to get on your bus? What are you going to do to become a level 5 leader? And then how long do you think it's going to take you? Write that down and add a year. Add 2 years because it's going to take a while. I thought this would happen in 6 months. When I wrote that in my journal, I wanted to hit 100K subs in 6 months and value personally. I was just clueless, guys. But it took 2.5 years, but hey, I stuck with it, and here we are, making a ton of money. Hopefully this helps you. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you later.